The second part of your modules are your secondary module choices, either 7A or 7B. So let's look at 7A first. So in Lecture 7A, or Module 7A, you will find the lecture. Here's your lecture. You will also find the outside reading. This outside reading is based on the history of food and the role that it plays in our lives. A web link. The web link is local harvest. It's telling you different areas that you can buy local foods at. For instance, this is Thomasville, Georgia, so we hit search. And it gives us a list of all the different places around Thomasville, Tallahassee area, or within, I believe it's within 50 miles, that you can find local foods. So what if we want to narrow that down to farmers market? We would just select farmers market and search, and it will give us the farmers markets. Same thing if we wanted just online stores. It will give us the online stores in the area. Okay, going back to the module 7A. We also have your assignment. Your assignment for this is a Food Miles Lab. In this assignment, you will record all the food you have eaten or drank for one day. You will then need to calculate how far each ingredient traveled from where it was produced to where you consumed it. I would suggest you use MapQuest to do this. In other words, if you consumed it here in Thomasville, Georgia, but it is a product from Argentina, then you would look at how many miles is it from Thomasville, Georgia to Argentina. Yes, this is going to be a rough estimate, but it will give you an idea of just how far your food travels. Okay, once you have recorded all of the mileage for the foods that you have eaten, you will need to create a report. This can be a Word document. Your report will include the food item, the origin, where it came from, the number of miles that it traveled, plus the total miles per day. So this can be a running list of the food you have eaten, and then beside it, the number of miles that food had traveled, where it came from, and then at the bottom, a total mileage for the day. And you will need to post this here in the assignment box for it to be graded. So just as important as Module 7A is as describing our role in buying local and being a locavore, is 7B, calculating our environmental footprint. How much carbon dioxide is our lifestyle releasing into the environment? So let's look at Module 7B. Okay, the first thing we have with Module 7B is our outside readings. What is your consumption factor? So how much are you consuming, or is America consuming, based on other countries? How do we relate to others? The web links for this module, the story of stuff. Within the story of stuff, you're going to be looking at where things come from, where does stuff come from, where it goes, and all of the challenges that it faces along the way. The lecture, calculating your environmental footprints, and also the environmental footprint lab. Okay, the assignment for this module requires you to take a quiz, change a few behaviors for 2 days, then take it again. You will want to make sure to give yourself plenty of time to do this assignment. Again, it's going to take at least 2 days to do it. You can type this into a Word document and then paste it here into the assignment box. And you can see here on the assignment the actual Word document that when you open up, it will show you the website to go to calculate your footprint, as well as questions that you will need to answer to complete this lab. So how do we view our footprint? Do you think that you have a heavy environmental footprint, or do you think that you're pretty environmental friendly? Well, let's find out how someone else relates to this.
This morning we're going green to add up my carbon footprint, the activities and choices made on a typical day that can send harmful emissions into the air. M.A. Sanjan, lead scientist at the Nature Conservancy, recently shadowed me to tally up my impact on the environment. My day begins with a bike ride, part of my exercise routine, and lucky for me and the Earth, a great way to help the environment.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
We'll give you some credit to start the morning off.
Okay, I start the morning with at least 2 points, right? Some of the only positive points I would get.
Did you turn everything off at your place when you left?
Beautiful day, isn't it? Gorgeous view here. No, I didn't. Wrong answer number 1, if I'm to reduce my carbon footprint. But I scored big with my commute to work on the subway. Then the real test, my office. Back here in the corner.
Right.
Welcome.
All right. Great. Well, you got your lights on here.
Yeah, I swear I turned those off last night. Lights that can emit the equivalent of a half-ton of CO2 per year. But lights are just the tip of the iceberg. But what are your initial impressions?
Well, there's a few things that immediately jump out at me. You're using kind of old-fashioned television sets.
When Energy Star models use 30% less energy. This is good, because you're talking to the bosses now.
Fine.
Flat screen TVs for Lester's office.
Absolutely.
Another problem, my computers.
Now, you're using good screens, so that's a good news.
Yeah.
And you should turn the screen off.
What do you mean, turn the computer off or turn the screen off?
I would turn the computer off, but I would definitely at least turn the screen off.
So far, this going green thing isn't going so well.
It feels kind of warm in here.
Yeah, I can't figure out this system, so I open up the window to...
So let's see what you got.
I don't know. I had it down
You had it at about 75.
Ish.
Ish, and then you got the windows open.
Yeah, well, okay, guilty. Over by the window, Sanjin spots another careless mistake.
So that's on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was playing that earlier.
It's tough because you're in an office situation.
But not so tough if I put my mind to it. A few simple changes that could lower my climate impact by 20%.
And what you buy and how you get to work and how you live your life can make a difference.
And joining us this morning is M.A. Sanjin, lead scientist at the Nature Conservancy. Sanjin, good to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us. It was a really enlightening experience, pardon the pun there, to find out all these things that were affecting my carbon footprint. How in general do we go about finding our individual impact on the environment?
Well, it's actually quite simple. So if you go to our website, it's www.nature.org. You can go to the carbon calculator and you can calculate your individual footprint.
And that's what we did. You guys, as we did this, you were marking down different things. And what was my score? How did I end up doing?
It takes about 5 minutes to do. And you got 51 tons of carbon dioxide per year. So you release 51 tons of carbon dioxide a year through your lifestyle.
And how does that compare to the average?
Well, compared to the average American citizen, about 25, 27 tons. So you're twice as bad.
I'm an environmental disaster area.
Well, the first good news is that you are an informed consumer. That's what you've become now through this process. And to just sort of give you an idea of what 51 tons really means, it's about the equivalent of about 5,000 gallons of gasoline.
Right. Now, we should break that down, that 51, because I know a lot of my score was affected by my travel. This is a job that I'm flying almost every week.
Right.
And then, in fact, there's the breakdown right there.
Right. Right.
And driving, I don't drive a lot, but the flying makes up for the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you actually live a pretty good lifestyle in every other way except the driving and the flying.
But I could offset that, and that's one of the things you guys preach, right? How would I offset these numbers?
So one of the ways of doing the offset is actually to contribute money to organizations that can go out and plant trees or mitigate it in some other way. And for you, it costs about 2 lattes a week. $500 a year will pretty much offset your carbon impact. But Lester, you should also reduce the overall impact as well.
Right. Energy vampires was a term you used, which I found interesting. I thought if I had an appliance plugged in and it was off, everything's cool. You say unplug everything if you're not using it, obviously.
And there's a pun there, cool, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Unplug it if you're not using it, because those things suck a little bit of energy. About 10% of your household energy is just being sucked by little appliances that are left plugged on when you don't need to have it on.
A lot of things we talked about, if I thought long enough, it would have probably dawned on me that I'm using electricity. But you hit me with one totally blindsided me. Let me show the viewers, then we'll talk about it. Here it is.
Otherwise, the only other thing I notice is your bottled water.
What's wrong with my water?
Where does that
clean. That's clean, natural water.
Absolutely. Where does it come from?
Imported from Iceland. Okay. Clean, fresh water from Iceland. And what's wrong with fresh water from Iceland?
Well, first of all, you can get pretty good fresh water locally here. Actually, New York has great water. But the main thing is to try and eat locally, because bringing water all the way from a faraway island or another country takes a lot of carbon.
Okay,
You got to put it on a
so
ship
that bottle
and
was
ship
on
it
a
out.
ship and so
Exactly.
then use energy. So,
Exactly.
So you suggest using whatever water happens to be sold locally.
Use water and drink water locally. Eat food that's local as well. And that's a good energy saving habit.
Listen, you gave me a lot to think about, and I think for all of us. Thanks so much, Sanjan. It's really nice having you by.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
For your Module 7 in-class assignment today, you will need to divide yourself into teams of no more than 4 and complete the following assignment. So your assignment is to build a large city. Your city faces environmental concerns just like most large cities. Some of the concerns are air pollution, the releasing of greenhouse gases, water quality, environmental degrading through clear cutting, and waste disposal. Your team of builders will need to design a green city. In your design, you will need to name your city. Design the layout of the city based on sound environmental practices. Keep in mind water control, erosion, recycling facilities, green power supply, farming industry, and government bodies such as schools, library, etc. Your citizens will also need a place to work, shop, play, and enjoy nature. Your city will need to include environmentally green technologies. If you are not aware of a technology that you need, create it. Answer the following questions from the diagram your team has drawn. So you will actually draw out a city, and then you will need to go back and to answer these questions about your city. So what is the name of your city? So you're going to need to name your city. Why did you name your city as you did? Okay, describe the layout of your city. Is it square? Is it rectangular? Did you put all the government offices in the center? Did you put trees in the city? Why or why not? So what predicted benefit does it have of your layout? Number 3, what are the environmental concerns the citizens of your city are likely to face based on the industry and farming you have provided? So based on what you have built in your city, how is it going to affect the citizens? How is it going to affect the environment and the global concerns that we looked at earlier, such as the global warming, the clear cutting, and whatnot? Okay. What technology do you have in place to combat air pollution? Just tell me what you plan on using. You have it drawn out and just describe it. What technology do you have in place to combat the releasing of greenhouse gases? What technology do you have in place to combat water quality problems? What technology do you have in place to combat the degrading of land through clear cutting? And what technology do you have in place to combat problems with waste disposal? Okay, your final question is, what methods will your team use to entice citizens to comply with the new technology and standards that you have placed on your city? In other words, how are you going to get the citizens on board? Okay, you will need to write your answers to these questions, and also on the next page attach the design of your city. Everyone in your group will need to have their names on this document and to leave it to be turned in. You will need to present this to your class. I hope you enjoy this assignment, and I will see you next time. Have a great week.